All right, hello, hello. Like moving some things around if you hear a bunch of clinking and etc. noises. All right, welcome back. So I know I kind of pointed out technically last class, even though it's technically the start of week 5, but because we had missed a day, it was more like we finished out week 4. And today we'd be starting week 5. But I'm going to remind us that the topics that were in this assignment were really more than a week's worth of assignments. It's like 2 weeks worth of assignments because we take a lot longer to go through chapter 2. We spend an entire day in 2.2. We spend an entire day in 2.3. I'm going to spend at least an entire day in 2.4, and 2.1, I believe, took us 2 days as well. And when I say days, I mean lectures. So it's just one of those things when we had to set them up, we had to set this up this way. So this week 4 is really like week 4, week 5, and part of week 6. So don't take the weeks too serious. Just try and kind of keep pace with what we're all doing. So today I'm going to kind of pick some things from the stress management section since we didn't do any of those yet. I want to kind of want to get a little back into fractions again, just to do a couple problems to remind us the difference of multiplying versus adding or subtracting or dividing as well. Just everything kind of mixed in together. But let's do some of the stress management and time management stuff first. All right, so we've done 2 questions. All right, so Monica is a freshman in college. Halfway through the term, Monica's grandmother dies. Sorry, Monica. Monica is experiencing physical fatigue, headaches, and stomach aches. She is no longer interested in classes, and her grades are falling. Monica is spiraling. This is Gen Z, I feel like their favorite word, spiraling, into a depression. Into a depression? Into depression? I guess it works with the A or without. What intervention should Monica apply? So this is definitely a situation of stress, just really getting to you. I mean, stress can do so many different things to the body. It's unbelievable, and that varies from person to person. Some people, stress, all it does is make them sweat a little. Some people, stress makes them have upset stomachs and inability to think and inability to comprehend, and well, that's the same thing, really. And believe me, we all have different levels and experiences with stress. I certainly have mine. I know you have yours, probably math class related, right? And yeah, so being serious life event. Monica clearly was attached to her grandmother. So just all this is going on. And they don't say like how long this is happening. It just says her grandmother dies. Is this a day later? Is this a week later? Is this a month later? And again, it's not necessarily that aspect that's important, but it could be a day later. It could be a week later. It could be a month later that we're still experiencing these symptoms. So what intervention should we apply? We got get some rest, visit a school counselor for help, reprioritize her responsibilities, or attend extra tutoring sessions. Now, the last one could certainly be helpful ultimately, but not necessarily in regards to any of these details. I know I saw someone say B, also agreed with my statement. So Monica should, I'm not saying B yet again, reprioritize her responsibilities. Again, this is just kind of general, maybe that's something Monica needs to do, but not necessarily relating to the stuff. Rest can definitely help, although there's a lot of things where depression leads to just you want to rest 18 hours a day, and it might not be constructive. It might be. I am not a psychotherapist, so please don't take anything if I say anything that you want to take as a belief or something. That's not what I'm trying to get to. But yeah, counseling really does help a lot of people. It might not help everybody. It might help a lot more people than they think it would help. But counselor seems to be the best answer, and my math lab agrees, so good job, y'all. All right. Here we go. So a question we did a week ago or a class ago, one of them was on alcohol pressure. Here we have death Here we have growth and expansion kind of mindsets. Carl is finishing his first term of college. He pledged to a frat and is now being pressured to run for executive office of the fraternity the next term. Pledging caused Carl's grades to drop below his expectations because we're consuming our time in another way. He feels pressure from his parents to improve his grades and pressure from his frat brothers to take an active role in the fraternity. What intervention should Carl apply? So seek professional help, re-examine his prioritize, exercise more. Another one that's just a general, really, really does help the mind unless you have limited physical capabilities. And then Carl should make time to rest. Again, generally a good idea. I don't know how rest is going to help this. Exercise, general good idea. Don't know how it's really going to help this. So re-examine priorities or seek professional help. I'm getting some B's. So let's see if we re-examine his priorities. And again, professional help, that feels like it's more necessary in the previous example. I don't really see that being necessary here initially, but we're all different and someone could need professional help in this regard. But re-examining the priorities does seem to be the best one for this. So Carl's root problem is the distraction of the fraternity drawing his attention away from the studies. Carl needs to develop a stress management plan and create greater balance so he can maintain his grades. And the idea of planning things out, this is the main idea I feel like that most of these stress management, time management, study management is all about. It's just create a plan. Don't just go in 2 seconds later ready to start throwing punches, so to say, or get to work. You have to plan things first. Like if I have to write a 4-paragraph email to my boss, I don't just start writing the paragraph. I'll kind of make bullet points first. It's a plan. It's not necessarily about stress management, but it's just a plan. When I go to teach a lecture, I don't just come out swinging instantly. I generally have bullet points or notes or a plan. Plan. Let's see. Yeah, this is a good one. So Jessica will be going to college for the first time this fall. Her school is a 4-hour drive from her hometown. So if you live in the Hampton Roads area, this is kind of like going to Virginia Tech, or UVA is like 3 hours. Tech's probably closer to 5 hours, but somewhere in that ballpark. Lately, Jessica has been more irritable and less interested in finishing her high school homework than usual, even though her workload has not increased. Which common stressor is probably affecting Jessica? Too many activities and not enough time, fear of the unknown, poor academic performance, or traffic. Now, a lot of people might go straight to traffic, but this 4-hour drive isn't a day-to-day stressor. So it could be traffic. And if she was going to be commuting these 4 hours, that would be definitely a stress, what's the word I'm looking for? Something to cause stress. Poor academic performance, again, that doesn't say anything about her academic performance currently in here, so C doesn't seem great. D, they said it's a possibility. You could be worried about traffic in the future. Too many activities and not enough time. Again, there's nothing really in here that's kind of dictating that that's the problem. It's probably fear of the unknown. And some people might also say they've got senioritis because I already got into college. I don't feel like I need to do anything else in high school. I feel like that should have been one of the choices personally. So let's see. I got to vote for D and B. I got to vote for D first, so let's check it. And we were right, me, I guess, that although Jessica will have to drive 4 hours to and from school, she does not have to do this until the fall. So her irritability and lack of interest in her homework is probably a result from being nervous and afraid of what college would be like. So that sentence even kind of spoils that it's definitely fear of the unknown. Get fired from a job. What are we going to do? Fear of the unknown. We move to a new city. Where are we going to eat? How are we going to make new friends? Fear of the unknown. It's a tough one. Something I'd say most of us, if not all of us, experience at some point in our lives. Which side effect is not the result of stress? So we said stress can cause just a whole bunch of symptoms. Nausea. Oh yeah, I've seen some students develop nausea when you hand them that test, that math test. Frustration. I mean, that one's just clearly obvious, right? Change in sleep patterns. Some people get so hyper-focused that they can't sleep anymore, or some people kind of get into that depression side of stress, and then that can make them sleep too much. Improved concentration. I don't even think we need to think this one out. You are not going to get improved concentration from stress unless you're just some Superman or Superwoman or something like that. And you know, those people certainly exist, but that is not the norm. Stress in general is not going to make you concentrate better. When should someone use a stress intervention strategy? When stress levels are low, moderate to high, when there are few warning signs, or when there are no warning signs. Stress intervention. So intervention is usually there's a problem going on. It's not that a problem is developing, it's a problem that needs correction ASAP. So stress levels being low, I don't know that we would want to intervene there. No warning signs, usually interventions happen from warning signs, and there's a very common type of intervention that a lot of us have definitely seen in the media or dealt with personally, maybe even, and I think you can just kind of relate this to that. Few warning signs, I mean, that could be it, but I feel like maybe when stress is moderate to high, maybe it's when they're few. I would go this one. And I just saw that someone put an answer. I always try to go with y'all's answer, and you said B, so we agreed. Cool. Cool. All right, I knew there was a couple I was gonna skip coming up. What action help reduces stress? This is not one of them. This is a great one. Taking on additional responsibility at work. That's not going to make me stress less. Staying up all night to finish a paper. It's going to wreck your sleep pattern. I mean, if you get the paper done, maybe that makes you less stressed, but I don't know. Exercising for 30 minutes a day, moving into a new apartment. Moving is usually a stressor. What do we got? What do we got? I got some votes for C. Exercising 30 minutes a day. I kind of already predicated this one earlier that exercise is always great. 30 minutes a day is the, I would say, doctor recommended value. I mean, exercise can be as simple as walking. It doesn't have to be anything super strenuous. But yeah, that 30 minutes a day can definitely help you clear your mind, especially a nice walk outside. Some people like to lift weights and just kind of release that stress that way. Or me, I was always a fan of running when I still could. Now it's just any type of cardio I can do when I can. So exercise, exercise, exercise. Good for the brain, good for the body. Karen's final paper for physiology is due on Friday morning. That would stress me out. Physiology is not my forte. But her best friend Rita's birthday party is Thursday night. Uh-oh, classic real life situation. What do we do? Karen committed to going to Rita's party before she knew the final paper would be due the next day. That mean old teacher, how dare they? Now Karen is stressed out about what to do in this situation. What could Karen do? What should Karen do to lower her stress? So we got, tell Rita she won't be at the party, go to Rita's party and turn in her paper late. Finish the paper before she goes to Rita's party. Ignore Rita until her after party occurs. Some of these are kind of funny. So I see a vote for A or C. Tell Rita she won't be at the party, or finish the paper before she goes to Rita's party. So both of these could, the first one could be necessary, depending on how bad this paper is. Have you done your rough draft? Did you do your bullet points before that? Have you revised this at all? Are you starting this from scratch? Maybe you need to tell her that you won't be at the party at all, and you know, hopefully that doesn't put your friendship on ice or anything like that. But if there's a possibility of finishing the paper before going to the party, that would be the thing I would want to do so that I can handle all of my social and educational obligations. And it turns out that that was the best answer. But again, this is going to depend on where that person is with the paper. You know, it doesn't say what day it is right now. If it's currently Thursday and this is a 12-page paper and nothing's done yet, it's going to have to be A. if this is Monday and we've still got some time, I think we could probably prioritize finishing the paper, not spending time with Rita until the party, maybe even showing up a little late. A lot of people might reorder these priorities and say, well, I can go to the party, I just need to leave early. But, you know, depending on who you are, maybe you can't hold yourself to that restriction that you just imposed. So I definitely try and get the paper done first. Yeah, I think this was the last one before I was going to skip around. Okay. Read the scenario and answer the question that follows. Jake sent a text message to his friend saying, I've never been this stressed in my life. I don't know what to do. But he does not receive a response. Classic, right? We've all been there. When he did not receive a response, he felt isolated and misunderstood. He wanted immediate feedback and did not get it. Which approach may have been the better way for Jake to handle his stress? Send this text, get back to me right away, I need you, where are you? Question mark, exclamation mark. Make phone calls until you get a friend or family member on the line. Maybe. Approach a stranger and begin a conversation about stress. I mean, I know half of us don't even like talking to strangers at all, so that probably isn't a good one. Unless they have candy, that's a joke, that's a joke, that's a joke. Manage the problem himself. So A seems like it's a little bit too panicky, so I don't know about that one. Stranger danger sounds like a bad idea. You can tell I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s. Make phone calls until you get a friend or family member on the line, or manage the problem himself seems the best. Let's see, what do we got to vote for? We got to vote for D, and I think I would be inclined to agree. We really have to take charge and control of our lives and emotions on our own as best as we can. And yes, sometimes we have to rely on other people, but we need to try and handle those problems first, I think is what most people would probably say. Uh-oh. Jake should seek outside assistance when his stress management strategies no longer work. And I guess because I've never felt so stressed in his life. So maybe it is make phone calls. There we go. These little details with these questions I've mentioned before can make it so two choices really do seem possible. And it's just I've never been this stressed that really made it B. If you said, yeah, I'm a little stressed, I think that the answer then would have probably been D. So admittedly, I got that wrong on my first guess. Nope, not that one. Not that one. Here we go. Good time management skills help keep stress levels low. I have this, I don't wear a watch anymore because it's the day of the cell phone, right? So back in my younger days, I always wore a watch, and I would check that thing like 80 times a day. And friends and family would always think that I was like just waiting to leave. Like, why do you keep checking the time? Are you not having fun? Are you ready to go? Like, no, it's just a habit of mine. It's because I was always pretty good with time management skills, I guess. So I always wanted to know what time it is. And I'll still check my cell phone for the time pretty frequently, but it's not attached to my wrist. So it's a little, it's not as easy to check. As I check right now, because I'm curious how far we are along in class. So which action is most important when students are trying to manage their time? Making choices, wearing a watch, checking their day planner, or always following their schedule. So the wearing a watch aspect is helpful because you can look at the time, but I don't know, checking their day planner or always following a schedule, those immediately just have a little more pizzazz to me for this. I mean, it could have been making choices, but it just doesn't seem to be the most relevant. So which action is most important when students are trying to manage their time? Checking their day planner is important to see where they should be, but I would say actually creating that day planner and following that schedule would probably have the most importance. The action is not the most important when students are trying to manage their time. Schedules can change, and sometimes you have to be flexible. So I didn't know they were going to account for flexibility in this problem. That is certainly a thing. So checking their day planner. No, the correct answer was A, making choices. So I definitely misread that question in terms of what they wanted. Good time management skills help keep stress levels low. Which action is most important when students are trying to manage their time? I mean, this is the first priority. This is definitely the first priority. I'm going to argue with this answer a little bit. Making a schedule and following it to the best of your ability would be the most important, in my opinion. But when you have this schedule set and your mom says, you've got to do the dishes right now, or your dad says, you've got to mow the lawn right now, or your friend says, hey, I broke down, you need to come pick me up. You know, these things that pop up, definitely making choices is going to be an important action. This is not my forte, as I mentioned. I'm a math teacher. This is just secondary stuff. I don't really like that the answer is A, but it's all important. We're making important choices with your time, important. Following your planner once you make it, making the plan, A, C, D, all extremely important. All right, I got 10 more minutes of this, and then we'll do some math. That's another one, just kind of, it's fine. What assumption about entering therapy has created a social stigma? This is definitely what I wanted. There is absolutely a social stigma about people going to therapy. I would say that this stigma has lessened and lessened as the years have gone on. This Gen Z, I feel like they are a lot more open about talking about their therapy and going to therapy, actually seeking therapy. So that's progress. We're always progressing. I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable there. All right, so which assumption about entering therapy has created a social stigma? It represents weakness. Only seriously unhealthy people seek therapy. It helps people express emotions that they normally might not express. It takes a long time. It's not a quick solution, or it's not guaranteed to work. The person in therapy still has to do self-inquiry. That's looking into yourself. Got to vote for A or C. All right, so it represents weakness, or it takes a long time. It's not a quick solution. I don't know, that doesn't sound like it would be one of the stigmas. I would say that it's not being guaranteed to work would be a little more likely to be the stigma, but I don't think it is at all. I'm saying definitely not D. I don't think it's C. It helps people to express their emotions that they might not normally express. How dare you? But it represents weakness. I feel like a lot of people believe that when they enter therapy and if they talk about it, everyone else is going to see them as weak. So students at A or C, I'm going to go with their first choice of A, and that's correct. So many people believe that seeking counselors means that they are weak, flawed, deeply disturbed. Some people view therapy as a drastic measure rather than helpful support. First of all, you don't have to have massive problems to need therapy. You can have, mild, we'll say mild, intermediate problems and still need therapy. And it could just be for a short time. This could be something that you talk to someone about once or twice, you create a plan and then you just try and follow it. Or maybe you need to be there for several months to get into a deeper issue. But again, the social stigma, definitely about the weakness, but it doesn't make you weak. That is not right. Don't let anyone tell you that. Here we go. Bob deals with high stress by turning off his cell phone, canceling social plans, and refusing to answer personal emails. It saves time and allows him to focus on his work. However, what unhealthy habit does Bob's response suggest he is using to deal with his stress? So there are ways to deal with stress that can be unhealthy. That's what this is suggesting. Selfishness? Is he being selfish by turning off his cell phone, canceling social plans, refusing to answer personal emails? I mean, possibly. There might be a little bit of selfishness in there if, maybe Bob's a dad and turning off the cell phone means his wife and kids can't contact him. So he's just trying to isolate into a bubble. So selfishness is possible. Avoidance, I mean, it definitely seems like avoidance to me. He's avoiding any kind of issues that might come up over a phone call, whether it's just having to respond quickly or go somewhere and help somebody. Canceling social plans, we're avoiding it. Refusing to answer personal emails, we're avoiding it. Workaholic behaviors. So avoidance, workaholic, this might be getting into workaholic, but it could be avoidance as well. So these are both pretty good, but avoidance is a little more specific here. Or burnout. Burnout could be a product of all of this by just work. He could burn out from that. But it just does seem that the initial problem is avoidance, so let's try that out. And there we go. Avoidance is not always effective. They say it's just not effective. Isolating himself from friends and family members who could help support him will only increase the issue instead of addressing the cause. So it's not just that, you know, he would have been helping other people could have helped him as well, potentially. There's one more I know I'm looking for. I think it might have been a lot later. Nope. Yeah, this was one of them. But I don't think it's the last one I wanted. I still got to find that. Karen's math final is on Monday. Relevant. She misses the math review because she's having a good conversation in the coffee shop. She decided she would study hard over the weekend. Then a friend invites Karen to a private film screening. So Karen vows to get up early the next morning to study, and she would have, except that she attends an after-screening party where she gets to talk to the director. Holy cow, that's awesome. What if this is her big break? I guess she's going to be in film or planning on being filmed. She probably knows enough to pass the math exam anyways, right? Yeah, we're good. We got that quadratic formula memorized. We know exactly how to use it, whatever. So meeting a director is better than an A in a math class. After all, which experience will she remember 20 years from now? You're not going to remember a math final, but you might remember meeting that director. And maybe she can convince her math teacher to let her make up the exam or take it later. If I'm the math teacher, that's not happening. She'll say her grandfather died or something. Now, if you tell me that and you have paperwork for it, well, okay. But silliness aside, which pattern does Karen's thinking reflect? So I kind of alluded to this concept several examples ago. A lack of self-discipline, obsessive-compulsive thinking, and ability to recognize opportunities and make decisions quickly, or creative thinking. So which pattern does Karen's thinking reflect? Let's see, we got some votes, a couple votes for A. So we're voting for a lack of self-discipline. Obsessive-compulsive thinking, I would say this is almost more like obsessive-compulsive behavior, but it's still not really, because it's, I would say compulsive, not obsessive compulsive. A lot of, when you think of obsessive compulsive, it's like turning the doorknob 5 times. That's just I think the one that we think about the most. But it does have a much broader branch of things that can be reactions as well to that. Ability to recognize opportunity and make decisions quickly, definitely not that. Creative thinking, definitely not that. So I think we're right with the A, and we are. Cool. All right, where's that last one? Nope. 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 Oh, this is a good one, though. I still have a few minutes left before we got to start. Like 2 minutes. Which option is an example of a side effect of stress? Debt, crowded living space, disorganization, mental health problems. I don't know that stress is going to lead to mental health problems necessarily. I'm not, notice the inflection in my voice. It can certainly cause you to have other bigger problems that can then lead to mental health issues potentially. Debt, I mean, stress could lead to overspending, and overspending leads to debt. Some people use shopping as a healing device, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. We get that nice feeling in the back of our brains when we buy something new and shiny, and that feeling tends to go away after a couple of days, which is why when I talk about finance stuff at some point, if I remember to, you'll hear me say this again, that whenever you're about to buy something, unless the sale is only that day, come back 48 hours later, see if you still want to buy it, and then buy it. Because a lot of the times you'll just get excited to want to buy the thing, And then by the time it shows up, you don't care anymore. And that 48-hour effect can just be from, hey, I think I want to buy this. Let's wait and see, though. 48 hours later, you're like, nah, those jeans look stupid anyways. All right, so I've sidetracked because I love talking finances. Crowded living space. I would say, crowded living space could be if it means you're just trashing the place. Disorganization, stress could lead to disorganization. So, there's a lot of decent answers here. It could be debt. It could be disorganization. In a world, it could be mental health problems. Let's try disorganization. No, it's not a side effect of stress. However, it can add to stress levels. I will say that when I'm stressed, I start to get disorganized. So I will say I disagree with that particular statement. Debt. It might let us check the answer. No. So it was mental health problems. So they're talking like extreme levels of stress, I want to say. So that's where you can just, go off the deep end and things can get worse there. All right, I got to find that one last question. Nope. Nope. I'm still here. Oh, nope, here it was. Students procrastinate because, this is the one I wanted. They are asked to cover someone else's shift at work. They get sick. They have a lot of work to complete, or their car broke down. This is another case of, I love how some of these really just seem like they could all be possibilities. If you get sick, you could call it procrastination, but sick is sick, you have to delay some things, right? So, yeah, B is going to make you procrastinate, but I wouldn't really call it procrastinating that way. They're asked to cover someone else's shift at work, and if you've got the type of job where you have to do it, you got to do it. You got to keep earning that bread, right? Their car broke down. If now you're stuck at the dealership for 4 hours without your homework, sure, that's procrastination, but not intentional. They have a lot of work to complete. This seems like the most generic one without being too specific and exactly. Too much work causes us to procrastinate because we get overloaded. We see these 10 things we have to do and we don't even know where to start. And this is another one of those things that making a list and time blocking or time management, however you have to do it, can be very, very helpful there. Because when you break a big project down into smaller things, you go, oh, okay, I can accomplish this task in 1 minute. So I actually wanted to draw a little diagram for this. So you got some project for history class. You need to do bullet points. Then you need to put your rough ideas together. Then you need to form your paragraphs. By project, I mean paper, obviously. Maybe there's some visual stuff as well. So maybe build visual aids. Then once you have your paragraphs and your 10 pages all together, you have to revise and then finalize. And when you look at all this together, you say, this is going to take me 30 hours to do, maybe. It's big, 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 big research. I didn't even put in the word research in there, which I forgot. Research. Now, you got 30 hours and your teacher gives you 5 weeks to do this. Well, you need to kind of figure out, well, how many hours is it going to take to do all these little bits? So the research might take you 5 hours. don't know why I just did that little squiggly. I didn't need to do that. So during the first week, you should probably spend like 1 hour per day, if you can do that. Otherwise, you're gonna have to spend 2 hours a day in week 2, or 5 hours all in one day, just getting it done whenever. Your bullet points, this is probably gonna take you maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. And getting your rough ideas together, so you take your bullet points and you start building on that, maybe that's gonna take you 3 hours. So now you're in week 2, and in week 2, so this was week 1. Week 2, you're doing that, and again, it's just 1 hour per day. So Monday and Tuesday, you're doing your bullet points. Then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're putting your rough ideas together in organization. Then forming your paragraphs, that's going to definitely take some time. That's probably going to be another 5 hours. And so you could do that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 1 hour each. Building our visual aids, again, maybe that's going to take us 5 hours. Question mark, maybe. Just depends on how detailed you're going to be. You know, are you going to make some nice, wonderful three-dimensional diagram, or are you just making a poster board? So again, 1 hour a week. I'm sorry, 1 hour a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we're in week 1, we're in week 2, we're in week 3, 4. Now in week 5, let's say it was 6 weeks. I didn't mean to have the math be off that much. So then week 5, revising, maybe that's going to take you 5 hours. Again, 1 hour each day, and then maybe 5 hours to finalize this. A lot of people think that once they have their revisions done, that it's, you know, just 10 or 15 minutes left to get it, just fix your grammar or something like that. But a lot of times when you put a paper together, everything might flow really well in your head, but what you've put in pen to paper or ink to paper, or, you know, fingers to keyboard to word, whatever, however you want to say that, it might not flow as well in someone else's eyes, because you might have some ideas that connect sentence 1 to sentence 2 that aren't actually being stated in there. You might be going, oh, well, this person will assume that this is there, but if it's not there, then how can you make sure that that assumption is going to follow through? Depends on your audience. And teachers especially want you to have everything laid out clearly, not make assumptions about things. So maybe you need to go in and add another sentence. Or maybe what you have as paragraph 2 needs to be paragraph 5. Maybe you've got some sentences on page 7, the first paragraph in that one, that should actually go back into another topic. I don't grade a lot of papers. I actually did give papers 1 year in a math class, and then I said I'd never do it again for various reasons. And I'm just not an English teacher, so that was one of the biggest reasons. I don't really have a good way of correcting people's grammar. Mine isn't the best to begin with. Couldn't even tell you what a gerund is at this point in my life. So, point is, finalizing can take longer than you'd think. And you know, when you say, oh, it's going to take me 30 hours to do this whole project, that's awful. But if you get 6 weeks to do that, that's just 5 hours, 5 hours, 5 hours, 5 hours, 5 hours, 5 hours. If you break it up, it seems like a much easier task to accomplish. So, all right, week 1, my task is to finish my research, and then break it down even further. Week 1, day 1, my task is to spend 1 hour doing research. Well, you know, when you say it that way, it's not that bad. And then Tuesday, my goal is to do 1 hour of research. So you're just chipping away at this a little bit. You're setting small goals that will eventually put you at the big picture goal. But then, of course, you have to stick to them. And we know things come up. That was definitely the theme of several of those homework questions. And we have to manage those things. Sometimes we have to say no to people. No, I'm sorry, I can't help you. This is what I have to prioritize. If I don't get an A on this paper, my grade's going to be affected. It means I might not get into this grad school. I might not get the job that I want. And then I might not get to make that bread. All right. Okay, so that took a little more time than I intended, but there's nothing wrong with that. It is important. So what we're going to do for the last maybe 20 minutes is just kind of go back and do some fraction problems. We're going to address some issues. We're going to make sure we're doing things when we're supposed to and not when we're not supposed to. So as a reminder, you do not need an LCD for multiplying, or dividing fractions. You do need an LCD for adding and subtracting fractions. And we've already addressed how we can get an LCD. We've done many of those examples where we were building up the fractions to get an LCD and then be able to add or subtract them if that was what we were doing. But we hadn't gotten to those problems yet. We will see some of those in later week assignments, but this is just something I want to address now. So the last memo I'll give you before actually doing any problems, well, 2 memos. For multiplying fractions, it is easiest to reduce first, then multiply straight across. I'm not saying you have to, you can multiply then reduce, but it's easier if you reduce first. For dividing fractions, you will multiply, you will change to multiplication, and flip the fraction, which means to take the reciprocal that was after the division. So we're going to do some problems that are going to involve, no worries on that. My internet's been fun today as well. So we're going to do a couple problems that are just one of these 4 things, so just an addition or just a subtraction or just a multiplication or just a division. Then we'll do a couple where we throw them together and start PEMDASing some things. All right, so example 1, simplify. A, black, there we go. So let's do 3 20-seconds times 33/5. 3/22 times 33/5. Now, I'm only going to be doing fraction, multiplication, addition, subtraction, division, all that stuff with improper fractions. I'm not going to do this with mixed numbers. It would take me an entire lecture just to teach that stuff. The point is you can convert a mixed number to an improper fraction and then just do the math that way. That's the way you should probably be doing things in here. If you still remember how to add and subtract mixed numbers, then do it that way. But I do want to at least verbally acknowledge that you cannot multiply or divide mixed numbers. Even your teacher can't do it. That's not a lie. There's no rules for flat out just multiplying and dividing fractions. Mixed number fractions, that is to say. All right, so here's what I'm saying by reduce first. It's easiest to reduce first. So 3 and 22, nothing to reduce. 3 and 5, nothing to reduce. 33 and 5, nothing to reduce. But 22 and 33 are both divisible by 11. 11 goes into 22 twice and into 33 3 times. So what some people like to do is then rewrite the fraction. Some people don't have to. It's up to you, but you'd have 3/2 times 3/5. And then some people might, I'm pulling out red for wrong, oh, these 3's cancel each other and they make 1s because they're the same number. No, they're both on tops, they don't cancel. You just multiply straight across at this point. 3 times 3 is 9, over 2 times 5 is 10. And that would be our answer. What I like about reducing first is if you reduce this as much as possible, which we have, the answer is automatically reduced as much as possible. Alternatively, I could have certainly done 3/22 times 33/5 and said 3 times 33 is going to be 99, over 22 times 5 is going to be 110. And then you would have to recognize that some numbers go into both of these. One particular number, 11. 11 goes into 99, so we can divide that by 11. And you might write it this way. Hold on. I didn't mean to write the equals yet. There we go. Instead of the slashing, maybe you show the division symbol. It's up to you. And you say, oh, 11 goes into both of these. 99 divided by 11 is 9. 110 divided by 11 is 10. Same answer. Don't care how you're doing your arithmetic as long as you've got a method that works. What if we had 3 over 22 divided by, what do I want to have this as? 9 over 40. There we go. So this is a division. For dividing fractions, you change it to multiplication and flip the fraction that was after the division. After, not the before, after. So this is going to become 3 over 22. I will do what's changed in blue. The division changes to times. Now the 9 over 40 becomes 40 over 9. And then we can just reduce our fraction from here, fractions. So we have a 3 on top and a 9 on the bottom, so they'll reduce. 3 goes into 3 once and into 9 3 times. We have a 22 and a 40. 2 goes into both of those. 2 will go into 22 11 times and into 40 20 times. And then we just multiply straight across. Nothing else reduces. 1 times 20 is 20. 11 times 3 is 33. And there we go. C. Let's do 5 over 6 plus, let me give myself a little more space. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and scooch down to here. 5 over 6 plus 9, I forgot my second fraction. I knew the bottom was 9. The top was, it doesn't really matter. Let's go with 8. All right, so this is an addition. As we stated earlier, addition and subtraction, you do need an LCD. You do need that. So the nice thing about adding and subtracting fractions is technically you just need a common denominator. It doesn't have to be a least common denominator. In fact, any multiple of 18 would be a common denominator for this. So 18 is a common denominator. 36 is 1. 48, I'm sorry, not 48, 54 is 1. 180 would be 1. 90 would be 1. There's all sorts of common denominators I can use that will ultimately get the answer right, but you'll be dealing with bigger numbers. It'll be more of a pain in the butt to reduce, which is why we suggest use the least common denominator. So with 6 and 9, your LCD is going to be, there's 2 different ways. You can list the multiples, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, etc. 9, 18, 27, 36, etc. until you find a match in which 18 was the match. Again, that was by doing 6's multiples, 6, 12, 18, 24, etc. 9's multiples would be 9, 18, 27, etc. 18 is the first match. Alternatively, you can do what's known as prime factorize them. That means to write it as a product of the smallest numbers possible. 6 would be 2 times 3, and 9 would be 3 times 3. And then your LCD needs the most of each factor. Now, when I say most, what I'm talking about is we have 2's and we have 3's. Those are the unique factors. Factor means a product. These are options. So with a 3, there's a single 3 here, and there's a pair of 3's here. Those are the options you're considering. So between one of them and 2 of them, the most would be the 2 of them. So for the 3's, we need 2 of them. For the 2's, there's only 1 anywhere, so it's definitely only 1, which says that your LCD is just the product of all of those. 2 times 3 times 3, 2 times 3 is 6, times 3 is 18, the same value. Do you think I care which way you get your LCD? Nope. I just care that you can. Is this going to be something that you're doing a ton of in the actual Math 154 course? No. Does it come up occasionally? Do you see the occasional problem that has fractions? And my math lab is going to want the answer written as a fraction? Yes. And your calculator, when you start doing fraction math in it, most calculators give you decimals as answers. Now, there might be a way to just hit a magical button in the calculator depending on what you have to turn into a fraction. I don't know. I'm not looking at your calculator. So that's why I got to teach the true math. All right, so here's what we do. Going back to the problem, 6 and 9, you rewrite those denominators as the LCDs. You force them. And what you're going to do is figure out what the new numerators, those aren't zeros, that's just saying blanks, are going to be to make that happen. So that if you were to reduce these fractions with the blue ink, you'd go back to the original ones. But we don't actually reduce them because that would be a circular argument. So this is the way we taught you. We did lots of these. 6 goes into 18 3 times. Then you take that 3 and you multiply it by the 5. 3 times 5 is 15. So in red, I'll do the new tops. In red, I forgot to hit red, didn't I? Oops. Go, red, boom. Okay. Again, we said 6 goes into 18 3 times, or 18 divided by 6 is 3. Then you take that number and you multiply it by the 5. 3 times 5 is 15. If you don't trust this, 15 and 18 both have 3 in common. 3 goes into 15 5 and into 18 6 times. For the second one, we say 9 goes into 18 twice. 2 times 8 would be 16. So that new numerator is 16. Don't trust it, reduce it. 2 goes into both. 2 goes into 16, 8, and 2 goes into 18, 9 times. Now that the denominators match, we just combine the tops. 15 plus 16 is 31. You do not add the bottoms. 18, 18, it stays 18. You do not add the bottoms. Yes, you could convert that to a mixed number. I don't care what it is. This is generally the way we like our fractions as answers. All right, let's do another one. Let's do a subtraction. Let's have 3/15 minus 9/10. Well, we got to find an LCD. And I'm going to have to show the work. We'll do it over here. So our LCD is going to be what? Well, if you do the multiples, 15, 30, 45, 60, 10, 20, 30, well, 30. 30 is the first match. These matches don't always happen so quickly, though. For instance, if I asked you to find the LCD between 11 and 17, you're going to be listing a lot of multiples before you get to that LCD, which is coincidentally 11 times 17. I say coincidentally because there's no common factors. If there's no number that goes into both of the denominators besides 1, you can actually just multiply them to get the LCD. But that wasn't the case for either of these two. 6 times 9 is definitely not 18. 15 times 10 is not 30. If you broke it down, I won't list the multiples. I said it out loud, but if you did it the prime factorization way, 15 is 3 times 5. 10 is 2 times 5. So we have 2s, 3s, and 5s. We have a single 2 that we'll need. We'll have a single 3 that we need. The top option has a single 5. The bottom option has a single 5, which means we need a single 5. We take the most of the options. Not all of them, the most from an option. Doesn't matter which one you circle, I circled the top. So the LCD is 2 times 3 times 5, which is 6 times 5, which is still 30. Yay! So we take the original problem. We rewrite the denominators as the LCD, which we're forcing to be 30. Then we get those new numerators, which we'll do in red. 15 will go into 30 twice. 2 times 3 is 6. 10 will go into 30 3 times. 3 times 9 is 27. Uh-oh. 27 is bigger than 6. We can't do that. Yes, we can. We know how to add and subtract and multiply and divide signed numbers. We've been doing this. So you just leave the denominator as 30. You're doing 6 minus 27. Well, 27 is bigger, so we're actually going to do 27 minus 6, which is 21. But then we keep the sign of the bigger number. The negative had the bigger number, so that's negative. If you box this up and ship it out, it's wrong because you didn't reduce it. Both of these numbers have 3 in common. 3 goes into 21 7 times. 3 will go into 30 10 times. And we end up with a final answer of negative 7/10. Don't forget that negative. That's another minor issue that people will hyper-focus on the reduction and then forget the negative. All right, we have time for one more problem. So let's do some mixture of things. Let's go with 3/2 times 5/9 plus 4/11 divided by, this was 20/33. There we go. PEMDAS. How many steps? 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. Ugly two. There we go. So the multiplication is not going to be the first thing I do because M comes before D. It's the first thing I do because multiplication and division are really the same thing. They're opposite things. They're opposite sides of the coin. They're part of the same world, though, so to speak. So if this was a division, I'm going to change this just for a second. I'll undo it, though. If this was the division and this was the multiplication, I would do the division first and I would do the multiplication second. Not do all multiplications, then do all divisions. That is wrong, wrong, wrong. All right, that's a product, so we're just going to reduce whatever we can. 2 and 5, 2 and 3, 5 and 9. Nope, none of those reduce, but 3 and 9 do. 3 goes into 3 once and into 9 3 times. Then multiply that straight across. 1 times 5 is 5, over 2 times 3 is 6. So that's 5/6. Plus 4/11 divided by 20/33. So next we're going to do the addition, because that's what it is from left to right. And you just add the 6 and 11. Well, first of all, no, you'd have to get an LCD. Second of all, no, this is not what we do next. Multiplications and divisions come before additions and subtractions. This is what we should be doing next. But it's a division, so we need to clean it up and change it to a multiplication. So this is 5/6 plus 4/11 times, oops, I was supposed to do blue for the change, 33/20. Now we focus on the multiplication, and see, multiplications and divisions really are the same thing, different sides of the coin, so to speak. 4 will go into 4 once, 4 will go into 25 times. 11 will go into 11 once, 11 will go into 33 3 times. Let me rewrite this before multiplying, so that's 5/6 plus 1/1 times 3/5, which 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 5 is 5, so that's 5/6 plus 3/5. Now we get an LCD. Between 5 and 6, your LCD is 30. If you do the multiples, that'll be the first match. If you do the breaking down, 6 is 2 times 3, 5 is 5, so your LCD is 2 times 3 times 5. There's no number that goes into both 6 and 5, so this is the first time, and I did that intentionally. I'm glad I didn't mess a number up in the process of recreating the problem, because I didn't have it written down from, but I remembered it. Because there's no common factors there, 1 is the only number that goes into 5 and 6. The LCD is just the product. All right, so what is happening? Scroll down, please, and thank you. There we go. Rewrite the denominators as the LCD. Recreate the numerators by dividing and multiplying. For the first one, 6 goes into 35 times. 5 times the also 5 is 25. Reduce it, and you'll see it works. For the second one, 5 goes into 36 times. 6 times 3 is 18. Then we can just add straight across. 25 plus 18 is 43 over 30. There's no number that goes into both, so that will be our answer. Okay, so like I said, I wanted to use this as an opportunity. We did that nice grade problem previously. What did I want to say? I just lost my train of thought. I wanted to come back and do some of that time management or stress management stuff. We did some more fraction stuff. I feel like this is really important to emphasize. We saw some signed arithmetic at least once in all of these problems as well. So just good math. I would have done more proportion stuff, but I feel like we really hammered that out 1 and 2 classes ago. We did a whole bunch of those in that My Math Lab assignment. But you will keep seeing proportions in class. You'll see them with the y equals kx's. Maybe we'll do a little more of those next class in this MDE. Yeah, I might do some more scenarios using y equals kx and actually run through the y equals k over x as well. So that'll probably be what we do Tuesday. So more y equals kx, etc. in MDE Tuesday. There we go. All right, so that's all I have for the day. If you have any questions, you can ask now, or you can hit me in the email per usual. Keep up with your homework. Some of you still have not done one single assignment in the MDE 54. Now remember, I'm only getting 3 to 4 people per day usually. I know we had 5 last time, or maybe it was 6. So attendance is you doing a little bit of work. So if you're not doing any work in that MDE, I can remove you for lack of participation slash lack of attendance. And removal from the MDE also means removal from the Math 154 course. So I am reiterating the importance of doing something. I'm not grading these. I'm not giving you A's, B's, or C's based on how much you've done and how right it is. It's just you need to do something. Doesn't have to be all of them. Doesn't even have to be half of them. Just something. Do a little bit from every different assignment. I didn't have any due dates on these. That's very different from the Math 154. This is much more of an open-ended kind of assist course. So you can always go back and do something from week 2, week 3, week 4, go forward and work on week 12 if you wanted to. Not my suggestion, but you could. All right. So have a good one. Have a good weekend. Email me with any questions and take it easy, everybody.